What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We've finally made it through the NBA offseason. No more endless speculation about trades, rotations, or potential shakeups. Real basketball is back, and last night, the Boston Celtics gave us something to actually react to. They kicked off their preseason by taking on the Memphis Grizzlies, and the result? A strong, confident win, 121-103. And yes, it's only preseason, but come on, when you've been basketball star for this long, even a preseason game feels like a playoff warm-up. Now, let's be real. Over the past couple of weeks, all we've heard from Celtics camp is how intense practices have been. Every player, every coach, all echoing the same message. This team is running like it's track and field, not basketball. That kind of narrative always makes you wonder, are they hyping themselves up because they have to? Are we about to watch another year of smoke and mirrors? Well, last night gave us some real answers. And honestly, the intensity we saw on the court matched all that talk. This wasn't some slow, experimental scrimmage. The Celtics came out firing. Let's talk about why this matters. The energy Boston showed wasn't just about trying to win a preseason game. It felt like a statement. The roster isn't locked in yet. There are still rotation spots up for grabs, and that's creating a competitive edge. This isn't a team resting on its stars and letting the bench coast through meaningless minutes. These guys know that every possession counts, even in October. Everyone's fighting for their role, and it showed. Now, let's break down the starting five that hit the floor last night. You had Jaylen Brown and Derek White in the backcourt, with Sam Hauser at the 3, Oshie Brissett at the 4, and Xavier Tillman holding it down at the 5. And what a start. Boston put up 35 points in the first quarter alone. That's not just running plays, that's running the floor. On one particular possession, right after a Memphis bucket, the Celtics inbound the ball, kicked it up to White, who found Jaylen Brown in transition, already attacking the rim and drawing a foul. All of that happened within 4 seconds. That's the tempo we're talking about. Jaylen Brown, man, talk about coming out with purpose. He played just the first half, logged 20 minutes, and looked like he knew exactly what role he needs to play this season. He's the tone setter now. He went 6 for 13 from the field, hit 3 of his 6 threes, and got to the line 8 times. Finished with 21 points, a couple turnovers, and not much in the way of rebounds or assists. But it wasn't about stat padding. He was clearly in attack mode. Aggressive, focused, even a little physical. At one point, he got into it with a Memphis player. You could feel that preseason Missoula madness, intensity leaking onto the court. That kind of edge is something this team is trying to embody across the board. Derek White was steady as ever. Didn't shoot particularly well from deep, just 2 for 9, but he still finished with 16 points and, more importantly, dished out 10 assists. With no Pritchard or Simons on the court, White ran the offense with poise. That kind of distribution will be crucial, especially if he's sharing the court with scorers like Brown and Tatum once the regular season starts. Rebounding-wise, it was a group effort. Tillman grabbed 5 boards, Brissett added 4, and they were hustling as a unit. It might not be sustainable long-term, but it's the kind of commitment you want to see from a team still defining roles. Speaking of Xavier Tillman, he looked like a different player. There were questions about his knee and whether he was really at full strength. He said it's still swelling, that he's managing it. But last night, he looked springy. He caught a lob and threw it down with authority, which, let's be honest, was something we didn't really see from him last season. That's not just encouraging, that's potentially a big shift in what he can bring to the rotation. But the real story of the night might have been Hugo Gonzalez. The Celtics' late first-round pick stepped onto the floor and made an immediate impact. 3 blocks, 3 steals, a ton of effort, and some classic Euro-style footwork. Yeah, he had a few sloppy possessions, but you could see the instincts. You could see the defensive awareness. At one point, he poked a ball loose at midcourt and slammed it home in transition. The energy was real. He's not going to average 20 points, but he doesn't need to. What he showed last night was the ability to impact the game in little ways, constantly, which is exactly what Boston needs from its young wings. Jordan Walsh also got some early run, though he only played 8 minutes before tweaking something in his leg. Nothing serious, it seems, probably just some precautionary resting after a minor adductor strain. But what's worth noting is that Walsh was the first wing off the bench. That's a signal. That means he's in the mix. Baylor Shyman and Hugo also got in early, and so did Josh Minott. Let's talk about Josh Minott for a second because the hype around him was loud this offseason, and he kind of backed it up last night. He played 26 minutes, scored 11 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, dished 3 assists, and racked up 3 steals. His three-point shot was off, 0 for 5, but everything else about his game was high energy. Jay King called him an energy maven, and that's probably the best description out there. He's not polished. He's not going to drop 20 on any given night, but he plays with the kind of chaos that disrupts opposing offenses. You put him on the court, and he's sprinting, flying into passing lanes, making hustle plays. If he can just get that jumper to fall at a respectable clip, he might earn himself a real spot in the rotation. There's a challenge, though. If Minott can't stretch the floor, it limits how useful he is in certain lineups. Having a wing who can't shoot alongside a non-shooting big clogs things up. That said, you can't ignore his defensive upside. He changes the tone of the game when he's out there. Same could be said for Gonzalez. He wasn't perfect, but he looked like a guy who just knows how to be in the right place at the right time. There was even a stretch where he was bringing the ball up, running the offense, which nobody expected that. We might get a little point Hugo action in these preseason games. Why not? Let's get weird while we can. No Pritchard, no Simons, just let the kid cook. Now, Oshie Brissett didn't light it up either. He went 1 for 6 from deep, which is rough. But he played with confidence. He kept launching. You need that mentality from your role guys. Baylor Shyman, in his 21 minutes, scored 13 points, pulled down 5 rebounds, added a couple assists and steals. Efficient? Not exactly. 3 for 13 from the floor, but again, the intensity was there, and that's what you want to see this early. Defensively, that was one of the biggest takeaways. Almost every single player who got real minutes notched at least 1 steal. That's not just effort, it's a mentality. Guys were locked in, trying to make something happen on every possession. Even when Memphis was clearly running out their B squad. No Jaren Jackson Jr., no John Morant, no Desmond Bane. It didn't feel like Boston was playing down to the competition. They were playing their game. One more guy to shout out, Luka Garza. He might not be part of the long-term vision, but last night, 10 points and 10 rebounds in 16 minutes. Got to the line 9 times. You can't ignore that. We know he's got offensive skills, but seeing that kind of hustle on the glass, even in limited minutes, is a good sign. His defense is still a question mark, but at least he made his presence felt. So that's where we're at. 1 preseason game, a lot of new faces, and already some storylines forming. The competition for wing minutes is going to be wild. The rotation is far from set. And yeah, we're only in October, but when your bench guys are diving for loose balls and pressing full court in a preseason game, that tells you something about the mindset of this squad. So here's where things start getting really interesting. We talked about intensity, about guys fighting for minutes, but now let's zoom out and look at the big picture. What we saw in this first preseason game wasn't just individual effort. It was the foundation of something bigger. It felt like the Celtics are building a team that's not only deeper than we expected, but more versatile, more unpredictable, and way more aggressive than what we're used to from a typical preseason Celtics team. Think about how different this could look once you plug in Payton Pritchard and Simons, both of whom sat out that Memphis game. Neither absence seemed serious, so let's assume they're back soon. Once those two are in a mix, this whole roster starts to shift. You've got Pritchard, proven, scrappy, efficient, and Simons, a dynamic scorer who can handle the ball and stretch the floor. Then you add Nemi Quetta, who is also out due to illness. That's another big body who's expected to be part of the rotation. So run that back. You've got Jaylen Brown and Derek White holding down the backcourt, which we saw. Let's say you keep Sam Hauser or Oshie Brissett in there to stretch the floor, and then insert Pritchard or Simons alongside them. Throw in Nemi as your big man. And now you've got a 5-man group that can shoot, run, defend, and move the ball. That's not even counting what we saw from guys like Minott, Hugo, Walsh, Baylor. This isn't a top-heavy team anymore. This is a team with genuine flexibility. And yes, that creates a new challenge. How much is too much? Because when you've got this many guys who can all make a case for playing time, you put a lot of pressure on the coaching staff to make the right calls. Joe Mazzulla's going to have his hands full. One night, Nimi might not be delivering the physicality you need, so you go to Garza. Maybe Walsh is turning the ball over, so you throw and you go. Maybe Minot brings the energy but clanks a couple of open threes, so you roll with Baylor. The buttons are there to be pressed, but can you find the right rhythm without overthinking it? That's the big question. Does this depth turn into a blessing or a headache? Because if every game becomes a puzzle of who's got it tonight, then chemistry gets harder to build. Players start second-guessing their minutes, looking over their shoulders, wondering when they'll be yanked for the next guy. But if this is handled right, if the rotations are clear, the roles are defined, and the energy stays consistent, it could become one of the Celtics' biggest advantages across the regular season, especially in the grind of an 82-game year. Because we've seen it. Every team, no matter how good, hits a wall. Guys get banged up. The schedule gets brutal. There's always that dead zone in January or February where teams check out mentally for a couple games. But if you got a bench full of young dudes who are hungry, who bring it every single night, that changes things. That keeps you sharp. You don't lose those trap games in Detroit or Charlotte anymore. You keep your starters fresh. You avoid those dumb 3-game losing streaks that usually come back to bite you in the standings. And this group feels like they're built for that. I know it's just one preseason game, but the vibes were different. There was urgency, but also joy. Guys were flying around like it was Game 7, and that's not something you fake. That's culture. That's the result of training camp energy being carried directly onto the court. Even if the opponent was shorthanded, the Celtics didn't let up. They played like they had something to prove. And maybe they do, because this isn't the roster from last year. They lost Porzingis. They lost Drew Holiday. They lost veterans who knew how to manage a regular season. Now they've got a younger core with some new blood, and they're going to have to learn on the fly. So they're overcompensating with hustle, with intensity. And honestly, it works. This looks like a team that knows people are sleeping on them a little bit and is ready to punch back. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Boston is buzzing with whispers of 2 shocking trades that could redefine the future of the Celtics. According to insiders, the team is exploring deals involving Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington. Moves that, if they come to fruition, might not just reshape the roster, but potentially alter the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. Gafford, the 6 feet 10 inches shot-blocking center known for his energy and rim protection, has been linked to trade talks that could see him wearing another uniform by the end of the month. Sources suggest the Celtics are eyeing a package that brings in more perimeter shooting and veteran stability, something Boston has been craving to complement their current core. Gafford's ability to anchor the paint makes him valuable, yet the allure of adding a sharpshooter or an experienced playmaker seems to have pushed the front office to test the waters. Meanwhile, P.J. Washington, the versatile forward who can stretch the floor and guard multiple positions, is rumored to be part of a separate negotiation that could send shockwaves through the Eastern Conference. Washington's scoring ability and defensive flexibility make him an attractive target for teams looking to inject youth and athleticism into their rotation. Celtics fans have long debated whether Boston needs a forward with a skill set, and the idea that Washington might be available in a trade has ignited heated discussions across social media. These potential moves have sparked speculation about what the Celtics' strategy truly is. Are they rebuilding around their current stars, or are they taking bold steps to create a more balanced and dynamic squad? Some analysts argue that moving Gafford and Washington could free up cap space, allowing Boston to pursue a marquee free agent or make another blockbuster trade down the line. Others wonder if giving up 2 promising pieces might be too steep a price for short-term gains. Regardless, the chatter is undeniable. Fans are refreshing Twitter feeds, listening closely to every insider hint, and imagining a Celtics roster that looks radically different by the end of the season. While nothing is confirmed, the mere possibility of trading Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington has injected a sense of urgency and excitement into Boston. Could these trades be the spark that propels the Celtics back to championship contention? Or will history remember them as a gamble too risky to take? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: Boston basketball is never boring. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.